This is story time, and I want to tell you a story about how I got baptized. I'll make it kind of short because I tried to make this video beforehand, and it didn't record for some reason. Well, YouTube wasn't working right. Anyways, here's the story. So I was 15 when I met my husband, and he told me what Mormon was. Now, I didn't know what Mormon was before. I had no clue, and I was like, what's Mormon? And then he told me, and I'm like, oh, Mormon. Like, I'd never heard of it before, but I was still already like, what? But that's when I was like a rebellious 15-year-old teenager. So anyways, long story short. So I was like, whatever. One day, the missionaries, well, we called them the Mormons, and well, I did, came to our door, and they asked if I wanted to go with them to a Sunday dinner or something like that, to the church with them. And I said, okay, sure. So they introduced me to they took me and they introduced me to the church. And now beforehand, when I was 13, since I was 13, I was trying to go to different churches now to feel the Spirit, to feel what was right for me if I was going to choose a religion, since I already had believed in God and Jesus. So I went there, felt the Spirit, like, for real. Like, that's the first time I felt the Spirit anywhere. Otherwise, I didn't feel it at all. I just felt the upliftingness of the other churches. But for me, I didn't feel the Spirit anywhere else but in this church. Anyways, but I still wasn't ready because I was a rebellious teenager. I was doing rebellious teenage stuff, and I was not ready to follow the gospel. I wasn't ready to follow the guidance, the word of wisdom. Word of wisdom is like no tobacco, no caffeine, no, drugs or alcohol. I wasn't ready to follow any of those. And so I waited like 15 years. No, not 15 years. Wow. I waited 8 years after they had so crazily, like, aggressively kept going to our door and asked us if I wanted to be part of that. Because they so aggressively harassed us at the door to the point where I said, okay, you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops. They're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to be that aggressive about it. If you don't want to be part of it, then they won't bug you anymore. Well, at least, Anyway, so I waited like 8 years after that, because I'm the kind of person, if you push something on me and I'm not ready for it, you're pushing me further away from it, it's going to take longer. So anyways, I was 23 by the time 8 years had passed, and Ian and I, my husband, we were doing a lot of praying. Like, we prayed before every meal, and we prayed before bedtime. So it was good. I mean, like, we had a lot of faith, and we had a lot of, we still do, of course. And we had a lot of that going for us. One night, we were deciding to go to dinner, and I, of course, then was smoking a cigarette. And they came up to my house, and they were like, hi, would you like to learn about the gospel of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and something like that. And I said, I was about to say something, kind of like, oh, we're going to dinner. Ian said something nice and kind, and I said, okay, it's time. So I then took the time out of my night, instead of going to dinner. I don't think we went to dinner that night, at least, to go and talk. Well, to just sit there and talk with them about the gospel. And actually, I was like, okay, yeah, it's definitely time, and I want to come to check out the church. And so, I think it was like a day later or something like that. A day later, let's just say, I went to the church and I felt the Spirit. Definitely felt the Spirit for sure, and I felt comfortable there. Like, it wasn't just like, I feel the Spirit, the upliftingness, but I don't feel comfortable here. I felt comfortable. I felt it was time. So, yeah. And anyways, the days passed of good meetings and stuff after we talked about the gospel and what it was about, and kind of introduced the idea and what about the church. And so one day, not knowing, when I finally got something to keep my Bible and all my stuff in that I was bringing, it was a cigar box, right? So that reminded them, I think that reminded them, because my friend brought it up. But anyways, they asked me, do you know about the word of wisdom? I'm like, what's that? And they're like, oh, no tobacco, no caffeine, no alcohol and no drugs. And I'm like, no tobacco? They're like, yep, you have to quit smoking before you can get baptized. And I'm like, oh man. And so they kind of set a date, and I'm like, no, I can't quit that date. And then they set another date. I'm like, nope, not enough time. And then I finally said, I can't do it. I can't do this. I like smoking cigarettes, and it's hard to quit. And so then they weren't giving up. So I just said, fine, that date. I'll be quit by that date. So they set for that date, and of course I slept up like once, and then I was honest to them about it, and I said, okay, I smoked a cigarette, so are we gonna have to reset something? And they're like, yep, we have to do a setback date. I'm like, what's that? Well, we just set your baptist date to a further time, and beforehand it was gonna be December like 20th and 27th. Well, now it was January 10th, which was fine with me. So eventually I just had to buck it up, and I was like, okay, I switched to the vape, which is really good. And instead of smoking, I vaped. But if you don't want to get hooked onto the vape, though, I would recommend the cigarettes that look like cigarettes. If you're going to quit smoking, not the the vapes that look like cigarettes, but not the ones that look all big, the big ones, that puff big clouds, because that can cause other habits. Anywho, point being said, it helped me quit. And so, let's skip to the whole part to the baptist date, because I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm actually going on a bike ride. Anyways, so the day that I got baptized, they gave me not a robe, but like an outfit or something. This white outfit, it was like a kind of like a onesie, except it was it wasn't separated from the. Yeah, it was something like that. Except it wasn't a onesie. It didn't have little feet and long arms. It was just something to put yourself into to get baptized with. It was like a white, we'll just say a white robe, something like that. Anyways, I went to the bathroom, and of course I went and bought new underwear, which was white, because I didn't have any white, because you don't want to get wet and then have your underwear show through. Point being said. Anyway, so I went there, and after I was done, I went into their font. I think it's a font or it's a fountain. And there was 2 steps on each side. I think it was 2 or 3 steps or something down into the water. And so it was really neat. I went down there. They said a blessing. And then all of a sudden, dunk. Not forward, but backwards. And I truly felt cleansed. My spirit and everything. It felt really nice. And then that night, so through the night, that night, I think, I definitely felt the spirit, though, after that. And, then I went to, then the next day, I went to church, and they announced that I was a new member of the church. And it was even more cool, because I went up, they told me to come up to the front, to where everyone, sees everyone talk. And then the priesthood gathered around me, including my the two elders, and they said a blessing. And they were giving me the Holy Ghost. They were giving me the gift of the Holy Ghost, and it was amazing, because in order to get the Holy Ghost, you really need to truly believe. You need to have your mind open, your spirit open, your heart open, everything open to the Spirit and the Holy Ghost, so they can put the Holy Ghost within you. Well, I literally felt something from up here come all the way down into my body when I got the Holy Ghost. Not something shiver up my spine, not something go up from the bottom up. It was something coming from the sky to down into my body, which was amazing, because I felt the Spirit there, and I know for a fact that it's not placebo, because I know what placebo is because I know, because I'm a queen of placebo. Tell you this, I can tell myself to stop hiccuping and I'll stop. Anyways, so I know that wasn't subliminal or placebo. I know it was real. And I definitely, after that, which is nice to have the Holy Ghost, because the difference between your conscience and what's being told, right from wrong, not just that, by yourself, and the Holy Ghost is more of a spiritual, more of this from the Spirit, And it's the Spirit itself that tells you right from wrong. You should do that spiritually. So it knows not what you just know. It knows what's good for you, what's good for this to do for the Spirit, all sorts of stuff. Because I will tell you about other experiences with the Holy Ghost and other videos. Anyways, but yeah, I definitely felt the Spirit, and it's definitely the place that I felt comfortable. And I hope that if you find a religion, you feel the Holy Ghost or where you're gifted with, and I hope that you feel the true Spirit of God. And thanks for watching. If you like this video, put a like upon it, and subscribe if you like it, and yeah, comment down below if you'd like to. And thank you for watching. Bye.